What is up, Insaners, and welcome to another video of the Fantasy Premier League 2021-22 season. In this one, guys, we'll talk about our team for the upcoming game week 9. We'll end the video with the best captain picks for the week, so make sure, guys, that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Okay, so let's get into today's video, guys. We'll quickly cover how we did in game week 8 and then move on to our team for game week 9. So, guys, game week 8 was pretty much like anyone else. We had 58 points. Now we are at a total of 561 points and we had a slight red arrow to 7.5k in the world right now. Nothing great, guys, but not too bad as well. Not a huge red arrow, and we move on. Now in terms of our team, Ramsdale conceded a couple of goals, guys. They could have been saved, he could have done a little better, but he only scored 2 points against a great Crystal Palace side. Surprisingly, all the other players in our defense, which was a 4-man back, guys, they all kept a clean sheet, including Livramento against Leeds, which we had pretty much expected. Now coming to the midfield, and it was the Salah show, guys. He had a great game against Watford, scoring a goal and an assist along with 2 bonus points, and guys, the captaincy decision was bang on for us this week. On the other end of the spectrum, now Saka was a bit unlucky to only last 45 minutes, and he also got a yellow card, so guys, no points for Saka, and that was very disappointing. Gallagher too, he had a great game, but he couldn't get any FPL returns, which was also a bit disappointing. Now coming to our attack, guys, all strikers blanked, which was a bit surprising. Now Jimenez only came on for a couple of minutes, and I was really hoping that he doesn't come on, but he came on for those last couple of minutes, and he just got us that 1 point. Lukaku and Antonio, both heavy hitters, they both were pretty average, completing a poor return from the forwards this week. So overall, not too bad. A tricky week coming up with a few injuries, which have really made the game week very open, guys. We have to take a few calls, and let's get to our team selection for game week 9. Now game week 9, guys, we can go in a couple of ways. We can do this in a few ways. We could of course have played a 4-3-3. Now Lukaku is injured. We'll get into a little more detail about that when we talk about the strikers. But we could have played a 4-3-3, probably a 4-4-2, maybe even a 3-4-3 with Lukaku. But now I think he's injured. We might have to replace him, or we might just bench him for this week. We'll get into that, but we'll start with our defense. I think we're playing a 3-4-3 right now, and the defense looks pretty solid. In goal, we have Ramsdale, guys. He's still Arsenal's #1 keeper. He made 4 great saves against Palace. He was pretty decent. Yes, he conceded a couple of goals, so that could be excused in a way. I know Arsenal have done okay against the weaker teams, but now they have a few fixtures against the stronger teams, guys. I think in terms of long-term fixtures, it still looks okay. I know a lot of people might think that, this was a mistake and Ramsdale could have been a Sanchez, maybe could have been a Raya, who probably would get slightly higher points than Ramsdale. But maybe it's okay because he's just 4.5, 4.6, that category, right? He's a budget keeper. He's a budget category keeper. And I don't think so I'll be losing out a lot here. I know Arsenal is playing Liverpool and Man United. They could be tricky games, but we're still going to hold him until unless he drops off and, Leno comes in and maybe he gets injured. These are the only situations or circumstances when we're going to take out Ramsdale. But guys, other than that, he's a #1 keeper. He stays in our team. Now coming to our defense, we're playing a 3-man back this week with Azpilicueta, Cancelo, and Trent as our main defenders, guys. Now Azpilicueta is a bit tricky. Yes, he played minutes. He had minutes in the Champions League game. Yes, he came off early. So that could be a plus sign. That could be a positive sign. But as an Aspi owner, guys, I'm a little worried about this game. I know he's played majority of the games. In fact, he's played all games so far for Chelsea this season. And he could be due a rest, which is a slight worry. I know for a fact that Reece James was rested midweek for the Champions League game, and I think, guys, he's going to play that right wing back spot in the team for Chelsea against Norwich, and that could mean that Azpilicueta shifts to the right centre back spot, or maybe just altogether is rested for this game. If we have him in our team, we will definitely play him against a weak Norwich attack, and I think this is a clean sheet guaranteed. More often than not, Chelsea would get a clean sheet in this game, and I think we're going with Azpilicueta. The second keeper we have is Cancelo, guys. Yes, like Azpilicueta, he's also a slight risk in terms of playing in the league this week, guys. Now, Azpilicueta was substituted a little early. Cancelo, on the other hand, he played the whole 90 minutes, and that could be very critical, very crucial. Yes, he's very important for the City team. He probably is their #1 defender right now. We saw that Diaz could also be rotated, so that's also a possibility now. But I still feel in terms of attack, in terms of points, in terms of returns, I think Cancelo is the one to go for. He still plays for the best defense. Yes, he did really well in the midweek game as well. But I think the Zinchenko issue could be a little slight problem. That could be a slight issue, but I'm not very worried. I think I'll go with him. I have a decent defense. I have decent options to cover him as well. So I think that should be okay. Our third defender is Trent, guys. Yes, he's playing against Man United. That's a tricky team. Again, you don't really know what to expect from Man United. They're playing average. I think they're playing pretty bad, not even average. As a United fan, I can say that they're playing pretty bad. And I think there's a good chance that Liverpool scores this week. I'm not very sure or not very high in terms of Liverpool keeping a clean sheet. So I think in that case, we'll have to depend on Trent for the attacking potential. If he could, provide crosses, if he could provide balls, if he could get an assist, maybe even a goal from a free kick or something like that, right? So we'll be definitely relying on his attacking output, but you don't mess with Trent, guys. I've repeated myself enough, and I think I sound like a broken record right now, but you generally don't mess with Trent. I think he's still the best defender in terms of attacking returns, and if you have him in your team, you just don't touch him. You play him every week. On the bench, just in case of their troubles or we go through some issues, we have Livramento and Semedo, who are good bench covers for this week. Livramento has a decent fixture. Semedo is playing against Leeds, so that could also be a decent option, and it could also be a starting option for a lot of players, but not for me. I want to go with 3 defenders this week, and I want to attack this game week. In terms of midfielders, guys, there are a couple of consistent players, a couple of constant options that we'll talk about first, and then we'll get into the other picks. I think the first option has to be Salah. He's the essential player in every team, guys. Come on, if you don't have Salah, you have to get him in your team. There's absolutely no chance that you go without Salah, considering the form he's in now, guys. Even if it's Man United, I think defensively they've been pretty poor. I really don't know what the hell is Maguire doing right now. And with that defense, with the likes of Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, and Van Bissaka, I think there's a good chance that Salah gets something from this game. And he can run torrid, guys. He really can trouble the United defense in this game week. He's the best player in the league right now. He's on 83 points, which is highest by a mile. I mean, the next highest is, I think, Jamie Vardy, who's at 56 points. That's almost 30 points ahead of the next best player. And I think you have to get him. And there's also a good case to captain him this week, guys. The second player that we'll talk about here is Rafinha, guys. I think Rafinha is in also great form for club and country. They're good run of fixtures. I think the fixtures are pretty good from an attacking perspective when we talk about the Leeds team. He's got 3 goals, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to come from Rafinha. He didn't play the last week because of the international break and because of how late he came, but I think he's going to start this one. He's got 19 shots. He's created 2 big chances. I think he's arguably the most underpriced player in FPL this season. I think that trend is going to continue. And if you don't have him again, you should get him. You should prioritize him over other players, over the likes of Buemo, over the likes of Saka, Gallagher, and all these cheaper picks. I think he's the best option to go for. Now, coming to our other picks, we have Gallagher, I think, who played really well against Arsenal, guys. Yes, he assisted the assister in one of Palace's goals, and that was pretty frustrating. But I think overall, he was a bit unlucky not to get an FPL return. He also had a great shot that he took from just outside the box, which Ramsdale saved. I think that could have been a great goal. But I think Gallagher at this price point, he's definitely one of the best value assets to own, guys. He has been able to accumulate some unreal numbers so far. Now, he has an XG per 90 of 0.41 and an XA per 90 of 0.23 and 0.74 big chances per 90 minutes, guys. And these are pretty good numbers considering that we're talking about a Palace attacker. In general, I feel Crystal Palace have a great run of fixtures all the way till game week 20. And I think at this price point, you can easily bench him for the tougher games. You're not really investing a lot of money in a midfielder. You're not really leaving a lot of money for your bench player as well, right? Because you don't want your expensive players or you don't want your high value players to be on the bench. I think for that reason, having Gallagher in this mix, I think it's a pretty good balance. And I think he will definitely return in the coming games. And I think this game this week against Newcastle, guys, I think it screams of FPL points. Let's really hope that he gets something from this week. Our fourth midfielder, guys, which is a very popular transfer, is a very popular option this week, is Buemo from Brentford. I hope I've got that name right. There's a huge confusion in terms of how do you say that name. But I think, jokes apart, I think Buemo has been in great form this season, along with Ivan Toney, guys. Their partnership has struck really well. Now, Brentford has been looking very sharp since the very beginning. I thought they are a team which probably would score decent, would really batter the weaker teams. But I think the way they've played against the stronger teams, against the top 6, top 8 kind of teams. I think that's very refreshing. That's very interesting. In fact, the Chelsea game, right? They limited Chelsea to an XG of 0.28 in game week 8, guys, while they had an XG of 1.88. It was so unlucky for Brentford not to get anything from that game, guys. And I think Buemo, specifically Buemo, he's hit the woodwork 6 times this season, and that's a massive number. Imagine the goals that could have come from those kind of shots, guys. And I think he's playing out of position. I'm not very sure in terms of how he's going to play against the weaker oppositions, because in general, I think Ivan Toney might not drop that deep. He might play a little more forward in terms of what he's been doing against the stronger teams. So that might make Ivan Toney probably a better asset. I'm not really sure on that just yet. But I think Buemo still represents great value. He's a very cheap option like Gallagher, guys. And I think in terms of priority, I would prioritize him over Gallagher. On the bench right now, guys, we have Saka. I don't think so he's trained this week, and I don't think so he's going to feature. So if you want him, if you want to transfer him out, there's an easy case to be made for the likes of Saka to go from your team, guys. But for our team, because we have other fires to put out and we'll just talk about those options, I think we'll just keep him on the bench. We'll probably deal with him in game week 10 or maybe 11, or probably just leave him on the bench for now and have these very important or very regular playing midfielders in our team right now. Of course, you can consider the likes of Foden, you can consider the likes of Mason Mount, who could be an option right now, considering that Lukaku's also injured. Werner might also not play. I think Foden is somebody who's kind of creeping up in a lot of teams. I know it's a very difficult task to kind of assess which City player to go for. There's always a rotation risk that you have to consider. I think Foden is still a brilliant player. I think he's still an amazing FPL asset. I think he's going to get regular minutes. I know that he's been getting minutes in the Champions League as well. He's been getting minutes in cup games as well. But I generally feel that there's a good chance that Foden starts, especially when you have the likes of Ferran Torres injured. I think Foden could play as a false nine. He could also play out wide as well, where the likes of Grealish could be benched. So I think there's a good chance that you can get Foden, you can play him, and of course there's rotation risk, of course there's the Pep roulette, so there's a huge amount of risk involved there as well, but I think he's still a great FPL option. Now coming to our forwards, guys, and this is where things have got very, very spicy this week, guys. Romelu Lukaku, who was the most captain, most brought in, or the most heavyweight player in terms of getting points, in terms of getting returns, in terms of getting a goal, he has picked up a knock, he has picked up an injury, guys. Again, we don't know how severe it is, whether it's a week, whether it's more than a week, whether it's just a knock, and he's probably gonna play against Norwich. We have absolutely no idea right now at the time of recording this video, guys. But I think a lot of people have already started transferring him out because there are so many options, there's so many routes that you can go for, that you can now get into your team. There's a high chance, there's a good chance that you can differentiate from other FPL managers right away, guys. And we'll kind of cover that in our transfer plans, in our transfer section. But I think for now, we don't have any confidence in terms of playing Lukaku in our team, guys. I think this will be a transfer out. We'll talk about transfers, but I think he's definitely not going to be in our team. Of course, he was a great option against a very weak Norwich defense. His stats were also okay. He could have hauled big in this game. But of course, now he's not an option. We have Mikel Antonio, we have Raul Jimenez in our team, and those two are not going anywhere for this particular week. I think there's a good case to be made for Mikel Antonio. Yes, there is Spurs, then there is Aston Villa, then in game week 11 you have Liverpool, game week 12 there's Wolves, 13 is Man City, and then it's generally a trickier run of fixtures coming up. So I think there's a good case to be made to have Antonio, to hold Antonio for game week 9 and 10. I think Spurs is not a great defense. I think you can easily score against Spurs. Considering the quality Antonio and West Ham generally have, I think there's a good chance that West Ham can score against Spurs. Villa also don't look very strong defensively, and Antonio could also score against Villa. Yes, Antonio's just scored 1 goal in the last 4 games. He missed that game against United as well. But I think there's a good chance that, you can hold him. You can have him in your team this week. And probably you can move him out in game week 11 when that game against Liverpool comes up. At that time, guys, you can go for someone like a Harry Kane. You can go for someone like a Ivan Toney, depending on how your funds are distributed in your team and what kind of money you have in the bank. And accordingly, you can take a call. I think Ivan Toney is a great option. He's looked great this season. He's also up against a Leicester defense, which is not that great. Of course, Johnny Evans is back, and there's a good chance that you could probably get a clean sheet from the Leicester game. But I still feel Ivan Toney has the ability to unlock that Leicester defense, guys, and he's a great option to go for. Now, Raul Jimenez, again, there's a lot of people who are contemplating whether to keep him, whether to sell him, because he was benched. I think it was because of the international break that he was benched in that game, guys. I generally feel that he's going to start against Leeds. Leeds, on the other hand, they don't have a great defense. They have a lot of players who are missing in terms of injury, who are probably not going to play. And I think that really weakens the already weak Leeds defense, guys. I think there's a good chance that Jimenez probably can get a goal, maybe even a brace against Leeds, because I think if Leeds have to win that game, they'll have to outscore Wolves to beat them. I think that really represents great value in the Jimenez pick. I don't think so you should move him out from your team. I think he's on pens. He's definitely more nailed than the likes of Wang or anyone else in that Wolves team. He's also a known FPL asset, right? We know that he generally performs consistently and he will give you certain points. He's a lot more creative this season. He's created 7 chances in the last 3 games as opposed to just 1 created by Wang. So I think you're also getting a lot of creative potential in Jimenez. I think he also has a decent goal threat. So overall, I would still play him in my team for this week. Now coming to our transfer plan, coming to the transfer route for this particular game week, guys, there are a couple of options that we have in mind and we'll just talk about those now. Now, of course, Romelu Lukaku could be out for a longer time. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a couple of games. We don't really know right now. But if we have to move fast, if we have to create some value, if we have to differentiate from the other FPL managers, we could easily take him out and get in Jamie Vardy, guys. I think that's the easiest move to go for. That probably is going to be the most popular move to go for as well. I think Vardy is an asset which we have really ignored for a long time, guys. I think he's been phenomenal so far. He's a top scorer in the Premier League and I still don't understand why the heck we are not going for a Jamie Vardy in our teams. I think he's nailed to start. Yes, there is Daka. Yes, there is Iheanacho as well. And I think especially after the introduction of Iheanacho in that Leicester attack, things have really flown a lot better. I think their attacking numbers have really improved. They were really good against Man United and I think that trend could continue in the Premier League now. We know that Vardy will be on penalties. We know that he will have great assist threat as well as great goal threat. Yes, he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. He probably won't take a lot of shots. But I think he's a clinical finisher and I think he will give you FPL points, guys. So this is a straight swap. I think this is something that we have in our mind and I think this is something that we will be going ahead in majority. I think this is probably the most easiest call to make. In case if you have the money, guys, in case if you have the budget, which I don't have, I'm falling short of this move by 0.2 million. But in case if I had the money, I would definitely have gone for Harry Kane, guys. There's a good merit in going for Kane. Of course, you can make both sides of the story, whether to get Kane or whether to not get Kane. But I think in general, Spurs will be playing a lot better. I think, of course, it was Newcastle and probably that could have been the reason why they were playing so well because Newcastle generally are a really bad defense. But I still feel there was something in that Kane-Son duo, that partnership that struck for that particular game, guys. I think he looks to be a little better. He looks to be back from where he began the season. I think it was a big setback in terms of him not moving out of the club. But I think all of that is past now. I think there's a good chance that, Kane and Son, they start getting regular FPL points. And his ownership is only around 5%, guys. His ownership is so damn low that you can get on him a lot earlier than a lot of people. And then for those 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks, you could get advantage of those FPL points, which the other players won't be getting. Also, guys, if you can make this move stick, you don't have to make this Vardy to Kane move a lot later, which also saves a transfer later down the line. So if you have the money, which I don't and I'm very, very furious about it, but if you have the money, definitely go for Kane. Otherwise, Jamie Vardy is a straight swap. Now, there's some other interesting plans to go for as well, guys. And for my team, for my specific team, I had another plan where I could take out Romelu Lukaku, where I could take out Bukayo Saka. And in this case, I would have to take a -4, a hit, which I'm not very, very confident of, which I'm not very sure of. But still in case, just to, talk about it and tell you guys that this is also part of my thinking for now. I think we can get in Ivan Toney. We can get in Heung-min Son. Again, it's the same concept, right? We basically get that Tottenham asset for a slightly tougher run of fixtures. And we get on them a lot earlier than the other FPL managers. And that would be a differentiator in itself, guys. I think there'll be a lot of people jumping onto Spurs assets from game week 12 when they have a kind of fixture run. But I think right now, if you want to get on him, if you want to differentiate slightly, if you want to take advantage of these Spurs assets, guys, you can also go for Son. You can also go for Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney has a trickier fixture this week with Leicester. I don't think it's going to be that easy. But in general, what we've seen, Brentford have played well against the stronger teams, and then they have this really good run of fixtures where you would want to double up on that Brentford attack, guys. So that's also an option. You could probably do a straight swap from a Diego Jota to maybe a Kai Havertz, who could play as a false nine, who could play as a number 9 for Chelsea, considering that Lukaku and Werner are out. So those are also options to go for. But I think those are a bit too punty for me. I think I really like the KDB pick, but the fixtures are okay. They're not that great. Of course, we're talking about Man City, so fixtures probably don't matter, right? But I think in general, those are probably a slightly more riskier picks, which I won't be doing for my own team, considering the rank that I have, considering where I am right now. I probably won't be taking that many risks or those kind of risks for now, but those are still options that you can go for. Great, with the transfer plan done for this game week, guys, let's talk about captaincy. I think this is not going to take a lot of time because it probably would have been a debate if Lukaku was fit, Lukaku was playing. But I think right now you have to go for Salah, guys. Yes, he's playing a tough Man United fixture. Yes, he probably doesn't have the best of records against Man United. But I still feel he's in the form of his life, guys. He's the best player in the world right now. He's scoring goals for fun. I mean, he's just scoring goals for fun, regardless of any opposition. And I think, guys, 5 double-digit hauls in 8 games. Those games include Man City and Chelsea. That is massive, guys. That is absolutely huge. And I really don't think so. You'll have to look anywhere else. Yes, the fixture is a bit tricky, so you could differentiate from the crowd. You could differentiate from other FPL managers. But I think he's probably the most safest options, to be very honest. Now, if you don't want to go for Salah, you could also go for someone like a Mikel Antonio. Hopefully, he doesn't get injured. Now, I'm recording this video before the Europa League game, guys. Now, hopefully, he doesn't get injured in that game. He probably even plays lesser minutes in the Europa League. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not too sure about that. Yes, we know that the Spurs defense isn't great. Now, Dyer at centre back, he doesn't give me a lot of confidence, and I think there's a good chance that Antonio could get something from the game, and he's also a decent captaincy option in my opinion. Now, if that also doesn't give you confidence, and if you have the likes of Son, maybe even Kane, we'll talk about Kane a little later. But in case if you have Son, he's ticked all the boxes. He's been playing very well. I think he's gone a bit under the radar. Not a lot of people have Son in their teams. Probably now they're getting Son because of the whole Lukaku thing, but in generally, I don't think so. A lot of people are going to captain him. So that's also a great way to differentiate yourself from the crowd. He's the second highest scoring midfielder, guys, and I think 6 attacking returns in 8 games, very good numbers, and I think he's going to do well. West Ham attack probably also would be without Soufal, so that also does not give me a lot of confidence. That also screams of, goals. It could be a 1-1, could be a 2-2, could be even a 3-3 kind of a game where you see a lot of goals and you don't see clean sheets. Right? So I think with that logic, I think Heung-min Son could also be a very good option. Now, if you really want to put it out there, if you want to go for alternate captain choices, if you want to do something very, very tasty, guys, of course you could go for that Kai Havertz pick. I know I had gone for him last year and I got burnt really badly, but it's Norwich. They're conceding goals for fun. They are the worst defense in the league. Of course, he's going to be a punty pick. He's going to play number 9. In case we get that confirmation that Werner and Lukaku both are out for slightly a longer time, I think it's a wait and watch in terms of the press conferences, in terms of the presser, in terms of what comments Tuchel has just before the deadline, guys. And I think with that, if we are very confident that, Kai Havertz would be the one who would be playing that number 9 spot, I think he's a great captaincy option for this week. Then you also have Raul Jimenez, who's again playing a Leeds defense. Not a great defense in my opinion. They have some key players missing. Jimenez was rested after the international break, so I think he should start this game. And I think Wolves can easily score a couple of goals in this one, guys. And you won't be wrong if you go for somebody like a Jimenez against Leeds. Our final punty pick could be Harry Kane, guys. I know a lot of people are thinking of getting Harry Kane, but you could go a step further. You could do one more step. You could do one more thing by captaining him against a weak West Ham defense. I think he looked pretty good against Newcastle. He's dropping less deep. He's not playing as deep as he was last season. So probably the creativity won't be there, but he still carries immense goal threat, guys. He could also be on penalties. And he could take penalties for the Spurs team as well. So I think those are all good signs. I think he's coming back to life at Spurs. And if you really want to take your chances, if you really want to take a shot, I think Harry Kane, captaining him is going to be great, guys. So these were our captains. These are our picks for Game Week 9, guys. Who are you captaining for Game Week 9? Do let us know in the comments below. So that'll be all from my side, guys. I really hope you find this video helpful in setting up your final team for Game Week 9. Make sure you hit the like button if you like our team selection video, guys. That'll help us reach more people on YouTube and help many more FPL managers like you. Also consider subscribing to the channel as well if you're new around here. So we'll be back for the deadline stream now, guys. This will be an hour and a half before the deadline, just like last time. So do join us if you have any last minute questions or transfer queries or any suggestions at all. All the best to all FPL managers. Enjoy your week, and I'll see you in Saners next time.